Hello and welcome. My name is Meg Booth. I am CEO of Performing Arts Houston. Thank you for joining us for our Creative Chat series, conversations that offer insight into the artistic vision, creative process, and inspiration behind the artists that we present at Performing Arts Houston. I am thrilled to be joined today by Ben Chavez and Jordan Speas of Last Day County Fair. Last Day County Fair is going to be presented on September 25th and 26th at the Wortham Center as part of Performing Arts Houston's 60th anniversary season. We are thrilled to commission this full-length evening. This is Ben's second commission with us, and this is only Performing Arts Houston's in our 60th anniversary season, we are commissioning 2 full evening works, but it's our first time commissioning full evening works. So Ben, if we can start, you are the director, the creator, you conceived this, you're the songwriter, composer, musician. Jordan, collaborator, choreographer, artist in this piece. We'll get more into detail. But Ben, can you remember and or bring us through the vision and the journey of Last Day County Fair? Because it started as a 30-minute commission with Performing Arts Houston in our 24-25 season.
Yeah.
So why don't you lead us through the journey of this piece and how your vision for it started and what we're realizing right now?
Yeah. Well, it's so awesome to be here, and it's so exciting to be doing this full-length two-night event with Performing Arts Houston. I'm super, super honored. So last year, of course, we started with the 30-minute iteration of this, and I remember I've been sitting on this idea for probably 2 to 3 years. A lot of it is inspired by my own personal experiences coming out as a queer person, and a lot of it is inspired by my husband, who also, has experience coming out as a queer person, but in a totally different environment from me. I grew up just outside of New York City, where there were many queer young people. I went to high school with a pretty open, loud, and proud queer community, and so I felt like I had safe spaces to make that transition into being out and queer. And he didn't. He came from a small town in Mississippi where, if there were queer folks, it was sort of kept under wraps. And there also just were not many queer folks. And so, something that we've bonded over in our 7 years or so together is our different processes coming out. And so, I have taken those experiences and I've been marinating on this idea about there's always a ticking bomb element of coming out. You know that something's going to explode at some point. And then, if and when that moment does happen, there's always like a finality of, well, life as I knew it is just going to be over then. Life as I am used to has come to an end, and now I'm transitioning into this new state of being. And sometimes we can sink into these spaces that are like, you know, oh gosh, like I'm saying goodbye to the old me. But we carry our old selves into our new selves, and we are always just being. And so when I think about this idea of Last Day County Fair, it's channeling into this idea of life as you know it being over, but maybe not. Maybe we can take our old selves into our future chapters as well. And so as I pitched this idea, I knew I wanted it to involve a coming out story. I knew I wanted it to involve some small town energy and also some big city energy. And I knew it wanted to be music centric. Music is my background. I've been a musician since I was just 3 years old. And so this was really my moment to showcase my my heart and personal experiences in sort of a musical diary, which has become a concept album. And so I pitched this idea to Performing Arts Houston, and just kind of let it float out into the universe and thought nothing of it afterwards until the
And
Performing
this
Arts
was
Houston.
back probably in early 24,
Yeah, this was
when you
probably, yeah,
applied.
spring of 24. And I
Yeah.
got a call that summer that I would have the opportunity to present this piece. Was over the moon excited. and just got to working and started to trickle in people that I just love and adore and really enjoy collaborating with. And Jordan was one of those first people that I thought of. And so we hit the ground running. Jordan consulted on a lot of the creativity, a lot of the writing, and helped me put this thing to life on stage. And so in this iteration, Jordan is really stepping into the shoes of director of the piece. And I trust Jordan with my whole heart. And I'm so thrilled to be working together with him again.
You just touched on so many of the things that I look forward to unpacking a bit in this conversation. Um, And in picking those apart, and it's so interesting because you talked about so much of the heaviness that you are addressing, that coming out can be rife for so many people. It is
Yeah.
rife for so many people. Um, but and we will get to the message of Last Day County Fair because when we saw the creation that you put on stage in the 24-25 season, um, all of it. It was 7 songs. Was it seven
Yeah, it
songs
was
at that
seven
point in
back then.
time? And we were all so moved. And I remember talking to you at that time where you had said that you really do see it as a longer piece, and that that was really a beginning. It was the
Yeah.
beginning of a process for you. And you planted a seed for us because at that time, we didn't have a format for full evening commissions. We had never done anything like that. But sitting in that theater with you, just to see those 7 pieces, and to feel the positivity and the ability of your art to give us a safe space to wrap our arms around what can be for many a rife experience.
Yeah.
We knew that we wanted to commit to seeing the full vision come to fruition with you. So it's such a joy to be here. Bring us back just a little bit, Ben and Jordan. When did you first work together? So how did you know when you put that smaller commission on stage that Jordan was your person? Like where did you first work together and how did you see each other's talents?
Well, Jordan, you want to speak a bit on our history?
Sure. So we met doing the national tour of Aladdin, which was a spectacular time. And Ben and we crossed paths, but we shared dressing rooms, but we hadn't really like spoken. And then they made an offering to uh the cast that we could be equity, diversity, inclusion ambassadors for Disney while on the road. And we applied and we became sort of partners in crime while on the road. Um, and really thought partners about how to cultivate community together, as we saw that was our primary task while being EDI ambassadors, was figuring out how people work together again. We came together after in a post-COVID world, and people had sort of forgotten how to be at work and how to be at work in artistry and collaboration. And one of the first big projects we did together, aside from our EDI work, was actually the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS Cabaret,
Mm.
where Ben was co-chair that year. And what I witnessed was this human being who just had a knack for figuring out what people do well and making them also understand that they do it well. And I always want to nourish that in people, and that's sort of where my heartstring always is plucked. And in that work, we started to sort of really become really close and friends. And then um Ben left us to go do life, and
I
that
moved
was
to
it.
Houston
He
I
moved to
to
sure
get
did.
Houston
married.
Got married.
officially, married, to do life. And I knew when Ben left that that wasn't nearly the end of our story. And it was at that time on the road during that cabaret that he wrote Golden Era, which I sung background vocals on.
Yeah.
And I mean, that song just, I was like, I don't know what kind of juice you put in this, but it is absolutely a spectacular song. And it got me through a lot. And so Ben sort of been a soundtrack of my life as an adult
Yes.
Hmm.
matriculating into being away from home. I booked Aladdin just after leaving North Carolina, and I didn't know where community existed, and Ben was one of those hitching posts for me, especially on the road. And so in collaboration, you find these people who speak your language, and who can contribute to expanding your world thought and point of view. And Ben has always done that, and so that's sort of where we started. Yeah.
I agree. And I think what unites us too is that we're both multi-hyphenate
Mm.
creators. We met as actors, but we really thrived as equity, diversity, and inclusion ambassadors, and also co-produced a cabaret fundraiser event. We are both vocal coaches as well. And so we kind of speak a bunch of different languages, and that's what makes our collaboration so exciting. But you did just bring up something that I don't think I've even mentioned at Performing Arts Houston is that Golden Era is a few years old. This song came out like a handful of years ago in our fundraising cabaret. I wrote this song for the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS fundraiser that we produced on the tour. And then I just kind of put it in my back pocket for a little while. And Golden Era, to those who are not familiar with this performance that we're doing, is one of the I would say the singles of the piece. It's one of the featured songs in this piece. And so when it came time to build this evening, this concept album, I'm like, oh well, let me get that song from out on the in my collection and see what we can build around it.
So Last Day County Fair is a full evening in two acts. There's going to be an intermission. Walk us briefly through the storyline of this. I mean, you've mentioned that it's a coming of age, a individual in a small town, um, coming out to himself, to his community.
Yeah.
Is that all you wanted to do? Give us a little bit more of the plot, maybe?
Yeah. Everyone produces some kind of gift, some kind of light, and we are all unique in our own right. And I really wanted to highlight what it was like for someone to be a glittery spirit in a community that may be a little more muted tones. Um, and how do we celebrate people that are different and uplift them for their differences and because of their differences? And so this piece is about a young artist who is named Hartley, a new character that I've created, and he's really passionate about music, and is finding his own voice in this community. And the county fair in this small town is like the Super Bowl every year. It's like the place that everybody goes and finds community. And every town has their drama and their pettiness and whatnot, but this is really the place where people come together. And in this iteration, what differs from the shorter version last year is that there's new characters. And so there's this new character called Penny, who Jordan will actually be playing. And so Jordan's directing and also performing in the piece. And Penny is the mentor figure. Penny is the other person in town that is different, just like Hartley, and
Mm.
who really sees Hartley. And I feel like we all have that person in our lives, the person that took us under their wing and said, I see you and I believe in you. And if whatever I can do to help you get to where you are, I'm going to do it. And so that is that figure in Hartley's life. And we meet the mother and father, who are, sort of unsure how to cultivate this young light, which I think is something that many of us can relate with too, especially those in the creative world. Sometimes our circles and our families are like, what do we do with this? You know, what do we do with this outspoken, playing dress up kid?
Yeah.
Um, and so we find the first act is really about Hartley discovering his place in the community and how does the community react to this energy. And then ultimately, we find out that there's a time for Hartley to step away from that community. And in Act Two, we find out what happens when he enters the big city, um, and then ultimately returns back home.
And I think the message of this whole evening is so uplifting, and it's really about unconditional love and
Yeah.
acceptance.
I
Um,
I totally agree. And we what we put on stage is what we want the audience to feel. And sometimes the audience has to be in like a slightly uncomfortable spot so that we can
yeah,
come out the other end, you
yeah,
know? It's Brechtian in that we're trying to teach a lesson and also put the audience the experience should feel intimate. We want the audience to feel like they're a part of the county fair.
yeah,
And so they're going along the journey with us.
yeah,
And we hope that this experience shakes off any hesitations and resistance that people may have to differences in their own worlds, you know?
yeah. Um, Gosh, there are so many places I want to go, but I'm going to go back to this is really for both of you. Um, and it's about the equity work that you did together when you were first meeting each other on that Aladdin tour. You have mentioned in the past that you were committed to building a diverse creative team, one that reflects a range of identities, backgrounds, body types, etc. Can you both talk more about how you built the team? For this full evening Last Day County Fair, I believe you have 7 performers plus 7 band members, plus you, Ben, who is also a performer. So maybe that's 8 performers and 7 band members. Can you talk about how the two of you worked together to build a team, a creative team that reflects your values?
Yeah.
Well, I think I'll jump right in with saying Ben has incredible instincts about um, pairing people. And I mean, when he asked me, I felt, I almost felt ill-equipped to tell such a grand story, even though it's a story that I've lived myself. Um, and in understanding that, especially stepping into a role like Penny, you begin to see that the world that you encompass is so technicolor, and you can't miss that in recreating that for an audience. And the only way to really do that effectively is to have a team that also matches that, right? So understanding, like, we have Taylor McKenzie Smith, who's our choreographer. She has a veritable feast and background of things and identities and people she's met. We have an amazing producer, Bree, who is coming with this knowledge world over of how to help cultivate a team that can work together. Our design team is coming from so many different backgrounds of experience and a wealth of knowledge. And what I found in casting right now is that there's so many ways in which you can communicate people's depth of life. Um, and as a person who denied many things about their capabilities because the world said, "Oh, you don't look this way, you can't do
Mm.
this." Um, I found now that I'm sitting on this side of the table and sort of simultaneously working back and forth, or not sort of simultaneously working back and forth, um, that the nature of building a world is understanding that it should look like the world. It should
Mhm.
feel like the world. We should be able to breathe it in and know that if I walk out of the Cullen Theater, that I too know that it is what I saw. The Viola Davis always talks about understanding the physical manifestation of your dreams and goals. And now that I have the power to help that occur, I'll never miss the opportunity to. Especially when it comes to casting, because uh, I think oftentimes we don't get creative. We don't get creative. We don't let our imagination run wild. And Ben creates work where your imagination can run wild. And that's sort of my perspective on it.
Yeah.
So
I also really wanted to be kind of diligent about featuring as much local talent as possible because in Houston, I mean, there's just a mecca of diverse, rich, incredible, brilliant talent. And this is really our moment to show the world that H-Town is where it's at. And so I'm trying to pull from as many local creatives as we have because there's so much in this city that
That is absolutely a belief that we share with Performing Arts Houston. One of the reasons that we created our new Now commissioning program. I'm curious to hear you talk a little bit, Ben, about what it has meant for your, creative evolution, the life of this work, to have an organization develop a relationship and continue to support the creativity of new work in an ongoing fashion.
it means the world, firstly. I remember back in my college days when I would see people have their works commissioned, and I sort of thought, man, I would love to do that someday, but it's probably not going to happen. Those opportunities are reserved for, I don't know, the elite. And here I am stepping into a golden era. But really stepping into my dream world where I am doing the things that I have always wanted to do. And it takes energies like that of Penny, the character in the world. It takes organizations and communities and spaces like what Performing Arts Houston offers to believe in the development of new work. I mean, it takes a community of people with hearts that believe in the future of creativity and art and social justice and amplifying, voices that need to be heard. And so for me to finally be in this moment, first of all, it's an honor. But what's happening here is changing the course of my life. It's changing the course of my entire career. And so programs like New Now, I am now finding ways to amplify that program to other artists who should get their work out there because you never know what could happen with something like a 30-minute iteration of a new piece. You never know what that could become. And so this process has instilled in me the belief that I can do this. I can do this. It's not reserved for, some unreachable elite group of artists. It's for humans. It's for regular humans.
Um, oh my God, everything you say, Ben, there are like 75 follow-up questions that I want to ask. I feel very, very privileged in my position to be in a place where I can participate in supporting artists. I think it's a little bit like, walking in nature and, seeing a columbine flower for the first time and
Mm.
just thinking like, that is so unusual and special. I've never seen that before. We need to hear and see more of that. As artists, I'm curious to hear from both of you how you receive the responsibility of your role in society as an artist. Back to,
Mm.
I mean, what Last Day County Fair's goal is to take something very difficult, to take something that has historically been a difficult conversation that not everybody, you mentioned the bomb, like, is there a bomb here? Um, and make it beautiful and give an entire audience ways to wrap your head, your arms, your words, your thoughts around a difficult thing. How do both of you approach your responsibility as an artist in your creative journeys and in what you choose to give to the world?
Oh, yes,
That's a great question.
very carefully. No, I think the thing that is sort of a constant when even when I think about Performing Arts Houston, which I tell everyone about everywhere I'm at. Just so you know, I live in New York, but I tell everyone about Performing Arts Houston, which is the thoughtfulness in creating a brave space for creation. When you work as an artist, your goal or your desire is to have the agency of choice. And not every space creates that. And not every space allows you the full breadth and power to be able to bring yourself to the table, and therefore your choices are halted. In stepping into a piece like Last Day County Fair, um, it's a piece that when you talk about the aspects of it, you believe it would be born, bred, created in a city like New York, right? Where the world view is so all-encompassing, and and it gives you a grand snapshot of so many modalities and identities and all of these things. But what happens is, and what I urge artists to understand, is that when you step outside of a world like New York, the world suddenly begins to shift very dynamically. And there is unfortunately a big lack of safety.
Mm,
But where you can find that safety oftentimes is within artistic spaces.
Mhm.
yeah.
And so my responsibility is helping people understand that the world is the world. However, when you create art and you begin to hold that mirror up to society, you begin to take the agency of choice back, not only as the creative, but you also hand it out to the audience. You have a choice to understand, digest, and metabolize this information for your betterment, for your growth, for your research, for your life experiences, or you can choose to put it back because you may not need it. It's not the Last Day County Fair is a story where people will come and they will see themselves. People will come and they will be confronted. People will come and they will walk away understanding a world they had no idea existed.
Mhm.
And all of those things are correct. And our responsibility is to make sure that we do it safely for our actors, do it safely for our creatives, and that we ourselves are breathing new life into helping people walk away with a depth of understanding about the people who encompass the world. Um, and you see it all the time when people leave New York and come back, or they go and make their lives elsewhere. All of a sudden, they're like, wow, it's just so different. That's sort of the line. It's just so different. And the beauty of Performing Arts Houston is that I feel that I have an incredible amount of agency to be exactly who I am,
Yeah.
and that I have a lot of responsibility to bring my full self, because that would be dishonest and disingenuous to not want to bring yourself fully and wholly to a space that says, yes, we want you, we desire that. It's an incredible responsibility to have it, and then to also say yes, and I'm going to show up. It's vulnerable though. It's very
Mhm.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
Um, but
There's so much that you just said that I love about the agency, metabolizing, difference. And what's resonating with me is there's just this concept of the world is the world. Um, and as a mother, it's like you never want somebody to have to apologize for who they are. You want them to have full agency of themselves. And truly, when we have agency in our own personality, that's when beauty happens, and art gives us the ability to like fully embrace our humanity and beauty and personality and ourselves no matter who we are. So
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to make the point that this work, while it is a story about coming out, and queer identity, it is also inherently accessible, and enjoyable to those not with a queer identity. Um, we all have a golden era, no matter what we
Right.
identify as. But curious to hear you answer that same question, Ben.
Yeah, and just to comment on what you just said, I'm trying this tactic out right now in the process where we're not actually really saying the word queer
Mm.
in the piece. Hartley is the glitter child.
yeah,
Glitter is my
So,
favorite color.
right? Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. You may hear a song all about glitter in this show, folks, because I really want it to be relatable to anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
So, and just something
So
else that
wait, does that imply that you think saying the word queer creates barriers for some?
not necessarily, but well, yes.
Maybe? Yeah.
Yes, maybe. But also, I wanted, yeah, that's a great question. Yes, the
Answer it
answer is
honestly. I
yes.
mean,
Well,
this
I would
is
love to hop in there because in my experience, I think I was queer as in the difference of identity and wishes, not in my preferences in a partner. For a long time, my family would always go, "Well, Jordan's just Jordan." And I never could quite put my hat on that. I was like, "Well, what does that mean?" And it's like
Right,
I couldn't place it. And then I got to a place where I was like, "Oh, it meant all of that and this."
right,
Right? It meant all of my identity sans my desire to be with whom I desire to be. It meant that, yes, Jordan likes to wear a nail polish and a heel and a boot or this or those kinds of things, and also that.
right.
And so when you put a demarcator on people, I think there are people who are just alive and see the world in a way that others don't. And we immediately go, "Oh, you're different." And that different has a negative connotation.
mm,
And in
mm,
our story, we want different to
good.
have shimmer and sparkle and to resonate and make you glow. So and that's really the importance of it is that anyone could be Hartley just so happens to fall in love with this person and this human at this moment or whomever or Hartley decides that this is his pathway and we have this extra thing, right? Um, so that's maybe somewhat,
No, 100%. And I have to say, Jordan, you really have inspired me both as a creator and just a human, because so often we feel like we need to put humans in boxes of identity,
Mm,
right? But Jordan, and I'm just going to speak on my one of my best friends here, you never know what Jordan is going to show up wearing on any given day. You just never know. But to some people in society, that's scary. Well, you're either this or that. You either present as male or you either present as female. There's no blurred lines. And why can't we do it all? Why can't we it's all drag anyway.
hello, thank you.
As RuPaul says, we're
I
all born
appreciate
naked and
your
the rest is drag.
good
The
call.
shirt
Good
and tie
point.
that we put on, the dress that we put on, the what we do with our hair or the wig or whatever, it's all costume anyway. And so why can't we wear different costumes on different days of the week, and still be our authentic selves in our
I love
hearts?
it. I love
And
it.
so that's why, I don't want anyone to be able to say, well, this is just another queer story. It's really another difference story is what it
Yeah.
is. And we all have those experiences. So,
I want to play with that in my head that what makes us different is our difference, which makes us glitter.
yeah.
Um, but
And
Ben, I want to go back and ask you the question, how do you approach the responsibility of being an artist? How do you
yeah.
use art, or, see your role in society, I think is what I said, um, as someone who creates and who puts
Yeah. I was
work
having a
out there?
conversation recently about, why I create and where I find myself in my journey now. And I feel like um, I felt compelled to start creating stories like this when I really started to love myself. Because then I felt like, okay, I have gone through some hardships. I have the battle wounds and the scars. I've done the healing. I have processed so many things. And now I really am at a place where I'm loving who I am and who I have become. And so I feel like I'm at a place where I can start to share. And there is somebody out there, there are, many people out there who are in that place in their journey where they don't love themselves. And they're considering, they're feeling that the ticking time bomb of something in their life exploding. People consider rash decisions when they're in those places
Mm.
in their journey. And so now, how can I use my lived experience to touch someone's heart or minister to a spirit, and be like, hey, I know what that feels like. I've been in that hopeless place before, but it does get better and it can get better. So stay the course. And as an artist, we want our audiences to walk in the door one way and walk out the door changed.
Mhm.
And so there are bound to be people in our audience who are going through a hardship or who have a child that is different and they don't know how to deal with them. What we all strive at the end of the day is acceptance in the world.
Yeah,
And I think one of the issues that we face is that people's differences, if I'm a parent that has a queer child, one of my fears is, well, how are they going to fit into society and how are they going to affect my worthiness and my acceptance in society? And so I'm trying to bring these conversations to the foreground here to say, well, we all do belong, and there's a place for all of us here. And your difference is your beauty, and your
yeah,
beauty is your difference.
yeah. And I also just want to bring up again that even the themes in your songs are applicable to every human being, no matter what your identity is. It's about, self-acceptance, self-love, coming into your own, having the courage to be honest with yourself, be honest with the people around you. Um, uh, and so there is such a beauty, such an uplift. I mean, of those original songs, our entire office continues to sing a number of them. Coming Home, glitter is my favorite color. We're so excited to hear more. I'm curious, going back to the creative process, um, every partnership has its own rhythms, but I'm just wondering if either of you could give us a moment in the creative process where, in collaboration, you kind of had an aha moment with each other and the direction of where you were going changed because of something that one of you brought to the table.
Something that just came to my mind is in the first iteration last year, I gave the script to Jordan. We had many back and forths. And Jordan, you mentioned Liberace, and that was not in the script at all. And that just kind of like opened up a whole world of creativity in my brain. And now something about Jerry Lee Lewis compared to Liberace is like such a big part of the story now. So I give you big credit to that.
That's so funny. Oh my God.
Great.
That's um oh gosh, big aha moments with Ben. I feel like every time I go back through the script, I go, wow, he really got that, that life moment. Um the physical manifestation of the parents in this iteration has really been fruitful in conversation. And we've batted around so many ideas of how they exist and how the people who get to step into those roles. Um, but also Ben gave me like a career aha moment, and I didn't know this was going to happen because I'd never played a love interest. And the first iteration, I played the other glitter character in our show, JJ. And I I just remember being so terrified that I wasn't going to do it right. I had no idea what right was in terms of
Mm.
it was a sensation that was so foreign to me. And I don't know, like it was that also when we put the boots on stage for the first
Mm.
time
Mm.
you all have to come to know why that was such a huge moment. Um, but that was that moment. There's also a picture of us in dry tech where we're just working, and someone took a picture of us both like downstage and looking at the theater. And I think we just saw that those seats would one day be filled with people hearing this world and hearing and seeing this world. And I urge people to understand that just as much as you see the world, this is an album that you get to hear. You get to hear this world you get to hear it beyond those seats. And that's why language became so important to us. And we talk about words all the
Yeah.
time. We talk about words all the time. We're like, it's not that, but it's close. It's not this, but it's that. So those are a couple. I mean, I
Yeah.
would continue to have aha moments.
I will say as well, we were just talking about, feeling like people's identities have to be put into boxes. I think I struggled with trying to put this piece and the identity of the formatting of the piece into a box because, I have a theater background. I also have a music background. I have a dance background. I have a singing, like all the multi-hyphenate nature being compiled into this one piece. And people ask, well, is it a musical? Is it a concert? What is it? And I'm like, I don't really know what it is. I mean, it just is. It's a live experience.
All the things.
And so what I was worried about in the first iteration was, does it need to be one thing? Even though I knew I didn't want it to be, I was like, I knew I wanted it to be live music with singers and storytelling and scenes and some choreo, but can that really be done? And Jordan was the person that helped this you know, mix and match piece come to life. And it felt so organic
Right.
through physical staging and choreography and, using the boots to represent a whole wardrobe identity. I mean, like, there are so many I what excites me about this piece is that the audience gets to use their imagination. And so Jordan really helped me find those devices, those tools that will spark people's imaginations in such a way that we don't have to spoon feed the audience. Well, this is what this means. It's like, what do you think this means? What did these sparkly boots mean to you?
Mm.
Or at one point we have the three background vocalists not really playing characters, but they're just sort of playing beings in the community. And who are those people really? Or who can you relate those people to your life? There's a lot of open-endedness to this piece in just the formatting of it, in the content of it, in the characters on stage. And so Jordan has really helped me make that come to life in a really clear way, but also a way that sparks people's imaginations and leaves people wondering, like, who are these people really? Yeah.
You've talked about the language being so important relative to being the songwriter of this work, creating, composing the music. Just want to talk about your both of your musical influences, Ben, Billy Joel, Carole King, Stevie Wonder, PJ Morton. I also think Elton John. Jordan, tell us a little bit about your musical influences and and who you think we hear when we come to see Last Day County Fair. We hear Ben Chavez, but what are those influences?
Oh my gosh. Well, you hear the church for sure. That's sort of the foundational practice of me as a singer. My mother, and family were all, especially my mother's side of the family, were all singers. So I definitely come from a church background. My dad's side of the family, they're all ministers. So
Mm.
the sort of presentational quality of some of the voicing you'll hear, particularly now that I get to play Penny Lee, that'll definitely be influenced by a lot of that. Um, Tony Braxton is a sound that we found was very distinctly in
That's
the
right.
piece. That was an aha moment. Um, Whitney Houston.
Hmm.
Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. So many different people. I think there's this moment where you can hear Clara Ward and the Clara Ward Singers. If you don't know who that is, look them up. Um, there's doo-wop girls and that kind of thing. Um, wow. I mean, the thing about Ben's ear is that you hear influence and you could probably pull it out and he would say, well, yes, and it's five other people too. You know, you're like, yes, that's one of them, but there's five other people whose sound that I pulled even just this fragment of that musical mixture off of. I also, my life in music, I also have an opera background, so there's a lot of tonal qualities that come forward in the BGVs when we are creating those sounds together. Um,
Wait, what's a BVG?
a BGV, background vocals.
Okay, got it.
Yes,
Sorry, sorry.
background vocals.
Thanks.
Oh yeah.
Good
So,
question, though. Good
yes,
question.
yeah, but that's a great question.
BGV, BGV. Okay,
BGV.
got it. I'm
Yeah,
I'm down with the lingo now.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you start saying all these things too because you're like, I just need to say things quickly. But
Yeah.
there's some, and the last iteration, another one of the vocalists was also classically trained. Like we're all classically trained. Um, So yeah, it's a feast. It's a feast of creative inspiration for sure, for sure.
Anything to add to that, Ben?
I mean, I think you hit it all there, Jordan. I will say, I have just fallen in love with soul, gospel, and R&B music. And when I was in college, I had this amazing professor who really became a mentor. His name is Michael McElroy. He's also a multi-hyphenate. He's a musician, grew up in the church, an amazing black performer who also founded the Broadway Inspirational Voices, which is a New York-based gospel choir of Broadway folks of all shapes, sizes, colors, identities, who perform Broadway arrangements of gospel arrangements of Broadway music, and also sing traditional gospel songs. And it was really a way for me to learn that gospel music is also for everyone too. And there's such a rich history and soul and spirituality in that music that now I feel like is infused in everything I do. And so you really will hear soul and gospel in these, it's particularly in the harmony arrangements, because it's an homage to the beginnings of American music as we know it, the
Mm-hmm.
beginnings of pop, rock, country, all that kind of stuff. It came from the Black history of America. And that's so important to pay homage to in this music. And you'll certainly hear those kinds of arrangements in this music.
I
And
love
I
it.
would also add that just sonically, we sort of start the show in this very folk-centered quality of
Yeah.
sound, and it metamorphosizes as we convey worlds and time, um, and sort of ending in this very different center of sonic quality at the end, but it's very folk centered, and I think the thing that I can always say about gospel and folk, it is the people's music.
Yeah.
It is the people's music, and we and acknowledging the history and the lineage of it is so powerful. And we don't have to, again, this is a show where we don't have to hit people over the head with, they go, that's it. That's that stuff. Those are all of those things. That's the
Yeah.
buffet we wanted to come and sit and eat from, you know?
And also that sound doesn't have to exist in a church
Yeah.
either. You know, it can be in a county fair. It can be everywhere.
It can be in the Wortham Theater, September 24th and 25th, 2026. Oh my gosh, Ben and Jordan, it is so fun talking to you. I cannot wait to see this come to life on stage. It is wonderful to talk to you about this, and we hope that everybody listening will join us. We hope that everybody that has just seen it is going to come back and want to do a deep dive and learn more about the creative process. Um, you can learn more about this piece at performingartshouston.org and buy your tickets there. Thank you both so much, and we'll see you at the theater.
I'll see you soon. Come on out.
Ooh, come see us.